reason is you have marked this limit data point to active. Let me do it and show it to you. Click it, apply and run.
So tell me, how did learning solid principles help you?
Well, in the beginning, I thought writing good code is nothing but getting it.
So when the limit of this 5000 data point is enabled, you will face this type of issue. The graph will be shown of only last 5000 points. Let me zoom it out from here. Okay, I cannot zoom it out because in this main screen we have fixed the scale, right? So we will unclick it, right? Again come back here, run it again. Now you will be able to see. If you have set this limit to only 5000 points, right? It will show this type of things. Now what we'll do, we will disable this limit, we'll apply, make it done and then run it again. Once you have removed that limit, run it again, auto scale it and you can see, you will be able to see full graph. But whenever that limit of last 5000 points is enabled, you will not be able to observe the full graph. So that is why this point is very, very important. Now the next point is decimation and log data to workspace. These points I am not going to cover in this video. Why? Because this itself requires a 10 minutes explanation. And if I do it in this video, the length of this video will become so large. So I'll make a separate video on these 2 points. But if I tell these things in brief, then when you enable this log data to workspace, you will be able to store all this graph as a separate variable in workspace. How, what, when, why, all those questions we are going to tackle in our upcoming videos. So right now we are not going to discuss it in this video. So now we have seen all these 4 tabs of configuration properties. So before moving ahead, there is a quick short question for you, and the question is this: which of the tabs is useful to set Y label out of all these 4 tabs? Write the answer in comments below. I am asking this question to have just a self check that have you really learned anything from this video or not. So check it by yourself and write the answer in comments below. Now we'll jump to the next thing. Close it. Beside this gearbox there is small arrow. When you click it, a small menu will pop up. So the bottom thing shows the show legend. When you click it, it will disappear all the legends, and if you want to see it again, just click it again. So from here you can directly have the control of legends. The next thing is layout. If you want to change layout quickly, you do not need to go to the configuration parameter. From this section also you can set the required layout. The next is style. This is very important thing, because using this style tab you can style this graph the way you want. The first is figure color. So from here you can change the figure color. Let's make it white. The next is axis color. So let us make it white too. So from here you can change the axis color. Now once you have changed the axis color, from here we will change the linings and text color to black. The next is active display. So from here you can individually control each of the graph. Here it shows active display 3, so we are going to change this third graph. The name of the signal is add. So from here you can change the line, width and color. So first we'll change the color, we'll make it blue, apply. From here you can change the thickness, let's make it 2. The thickness is changed. From here you can change the different styles of line. Let's make it dash line. So this is how you can change the properties of the line. From here you can select the next display. So this is how you can set the appearance of the graph. So now we are done with this configuration properties. All of these tools are just a shortcut from this menu bar. So now we are going to explore this menu bar instead of going for each of these tools. First we'll go for the files. In files, the first thing is open and start of simulation. We have seen this earlier in configuration properties. When we click it, the scope will automatically pop up when we run the simulation. From here we can set the numbers of input 1, 2, 3 or more. This is copy to clipboard. When you click it, this entire signal will be copied on your clipboard and you can directly paste this graph into your Word file. Let me show it to you. This is my Word file. When right click and do it paste, it will paste the entire graph. So this copy to clipboard is really very useful. The next in files is print, print preview and print to figure. So print and print preview is useful for directly printing to the printer, but print to figure is really very important. When you click it, this graph, the graph in the scope will be popped up in another window and that window is figure 1. So now this graph will be open as a figure. And once this is open as a figure, you can configure various properties of this graph. Like in edit, you can see, you can adjust the figure properties. You can give the figure name, signals. So here the name is signals available. From here you can adjust more properties. All these properties are available over here. Close it. Properties of individual graphs which you can regulate from here. You click on any of the graph and separate property of that graph will be popped up. X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis, font and all the different properties you can set it from here. For each of the graph you can control the properties of that graph. You can control the color, the dash line, the title, font style, everything you can control it from here. There are other different tools available in this figure editing block, but we are not going to explore all of these things right now. Because right now our focus is to understand scope, not to understand how to edit the figures. We will make a separate video on how to make a paper ready or a report ready figures from the scope. But that we'll see a little later. So right now we'll focus only on scope. So we'll close it. And again go back to the files. Close and close all the scope window. So it is self-explanatory. The next is tools. From here you can zoom in, zoom x-axis, zoom y-axis and zoom out. From here you can pan the graph. Pan and you can move this graph where you want. Basically all these properties is available over here. Panning and zooming. Once you click it, start clicking it, it will keep on zooming at that point. If you want to zoom out, click over here, you will be able to zoom out the axis. If you want to rearrange all these axes, from here you can adjust all the axes. So from here you can do horizontal as well as vertical zoom. Click zoom X, click and drag up to the point where you want to zoom in. So this will zoom in the graph like this. The area you want to zoom, just drag up to that area and it will zoom that area. Again, auto scale. If you want to zoom y-axis, select appropriate y-axis and drag up to the area where you want to zoom and it will zoom the y-axis. Again auto scale and zoom out. From here you can zoom horizontally, you can zoom vertically and you can set auto scale. So ultimately shortcut of all these things is available over here. Now the next thing in zoom is axis scaling. You can save the axis limits, restore the axis limit, automatically scale the axis limit. The shortcut of these things is available over here. Scale axis limits, scale x and y limits, all these sections we have seen in configuration properties. So we are not going to repeat all these things again. The next thing is triggers and measurement. So first we'll explore the measurement and then we'll go for the trigger. So in measurement, the first is trace selection. The trace selection is basically to select any particular graph. So from here you can select any of this graph and then you will do different measurement. The next is cursor measurement. We'll select it and you will be able to see two cursors on each of the graph. So from here we'll select any of the graph. Let's select this middle one, the red graph. Now when you move this cursor, you can observe the change in the value, right? So it will indicate the value of x and y for this particular point. If you want to observe the value for any other graph, so from this trace selection you can select that particular graph and it will show x and y's magnitude for that particular point. So here it will show the time at this point. This is point number 2 and this one is point number 1. So this one shows the readings for point number 1 and this 2 shows the readings of point number 2. So right now we are at 7, so it shows 7.006 and the magnitude is 1.984. This delta t shows the horizontal distance between the point number 1 and point number 2, and delta y shows the vertical distance between these 2 points. Here there is another small section available for settings. So from here you can set from waveform cursor to screen cursor. When you adjust it to screen cursor, you can move this cursor anywhere into this screen and the reading according to that point will be visible at this measurement section. If you want to move this point only on the graph, then you need to select the waveform cursor. Then after, with the movement of this cursor, the point will shift only on the graph, and when you select the screen cursor, then it will move anywhere into the screen. So we'll set it to waveform cursor. From here you can lock the cursor spacing. If you move one, both this line will be moving, right? Because we have locked the spacing between point number 1 and point number 2. Or we can call it as cursor 1 and cursor 2. Snap to data. If we want to snap to any particular data, it will directly jump to the next taken data. So we'll unclick these two things, close it. So these are the measurements which you can take from the cursor measurement. The next is signal statistics. So from this section you can have all the important statistics of the selected signal. Maximum value, minimum value, peak to peak value, mean, median and RMS value for this selected signal. So all the important quantities of selected signal can be observed from this signal statistics. The next is bi-level measurement. So in this bi-level measurement you can have multiple data. Let me close these two things so you can have a better view. Over here there is parameters of overshoot, undershoot. All these things are very much useful when you are dealing with the error signals, right? These are for the cycles. It shows the frequency of our signal, pulse, width, duty cycle. All these things can be seen from these sections. Now we'll close it and go for the final peak finder. In this peak finder, from here you need to select